things didn't always go our way, but great team, trust, and the communication. So whether it's something industrial or nuclear or defence or marine. I got an autoimmune disease, couldn't walk, I was on a walking stick and working, 2 small children. And my manager at the time, the FD, just, well, work harder. Why are you not getting this right? Don't pretend you know it all, because you don't. You literally no idea how we work, you don't understand us as a team, and you may have great ideas, but it's how you present that. So I've seen it before, and you just sit back going, okay.
Very, very warm welcome to our podcast, brought to you by Michael Glanville Executive Coaching. And as I always say, I've got the absolute privilege of being here with Gwynneth Page. Welcome to the show, Gwynneth.
Welcome.
Now, Gwynneth has got an incredibly varied career, has worked in nuclear, logistics, marine, all sorts of amazing things. And we're going to go through your journey. So very, very brilliant and very, very much looking forward to that. But what I wanted to start with was an interesting fact is you are, in fact, the person that got me into podcasts in the first place. I don't think I even realised until I met you that podcast was such a great thing. So what fixes you to podcasting? Is it just something you just got into listening to, or is it all about facts?
It's not always about facts. I listen to a load of audiobooks as well. I don't like to be alone with my own thoughts, which doesn't help. But when I'm driving anywhere, having a podcast that's factual and historic and interesting, or it could be about science or biology, I will listen to most things. Nothing sport related, but anything about the natural world. I love ancient Greece, as you've known. But yeah, a lot of history podcasts, and I just love that. Just so many different subjects. I used to listen to a set of podcasts called The Boring Talks, and they'd be about the most random of things, like moss. Moss.
Oh yeah, because one you mentioned to me was fungi. Fungi or something like that.
And where cork comes from and how the Portuguese wine industry uses it. And it's, there's the most random subjects for 15 minutes. And I just love the randomness of it.
Oh, brilliant.
And if you start watching a TV, you have to sit there and watch the television, whereas a podcast, you can wander around, you can do the mopping, you can do the gardening, you can be driving, you can do other things.
Yeah. So, and learning lessons along the way.
Absolutely.
That's why we do this on YouTube and on Spotify, you see. It's available to everybody.
Yeah.
So out walking the dog, driving.
Yep. I walk the dog every day, so I listen to associated different random podcasts.
And Greek mythology, why that? Why?
Oh, it's brilliant. The ancient Greek gods are so petty. It's wonderful. They summarise human nature, I think. But the adventures and the stories that the ancient Greeks must have, you can just imagine them around a fire in the evenings, creating stories about the gods and what did Zeus do and what did thunder come from.
And did I misunderstand? Did you tell me you were going to write a book on ancient Greeks?
Yes, I'm absolutely fascinated by the Odyssey. So Homer, back in 900 BCE-ish, don't quote me, wrote a book about Homer and his trip back from the Trojan War back home to Ithaca.
Okay.
And if you look at the Greek map, and that's a couple of weeks sailing, 10 years it took him, 10 years, to do this journey. And it's fascinating. And he bumps into a cyclops and he gets trapped by a goddess on an island, and he meets all sorts of water spirits and demons and the sirens, and it's taken him 10 years to do essentially a 2-week journey, and I just found the whole thing fascinating. So yeah, I'm just so fascinated by it, and there's a film coming out about Odysseus soon. I mean, he's not a great guy, he goes around killing people randomly and killing servant girls, it's not great, but there's the story that was, and there's lots of debates whether Homer was one person or he was collecting lots of stories to create a theme. And I also read a book, I found it as a bookshop in Yarmouth on the Isle of Wight. It has all these old books, and you walk in, it's like sort of a Harry Potter type, is this going to be the spell book? One of the books I found was written by a Frenchman, translated by an American in the 60s, about Odysseus going from Troy to Ithaca. And this guy's actually got a map out. He's looked at, right, if you've travelled for 9 days and 9 nights at 6 knots, that's actually roughly 1,000 miles, you'll be at the Canary Islands. So anyways, he's done that and he's plotted it. So he reckons Odysseus has gone up through Scotland to Iceland. And I've never found another book like it. No one ever mentioned this journey ever again, but he's actually got there and he's got his compass out and he's got his calipers out and he's worked out the whole
journey.
The whole journey. And I find that fascinating. Were the ancient Greeks actually, Bronze Age, trading all the way up to Iceland, past Ireland, Scotland.
Wow. And you're turning this all
Oh yeah,
into your own
the
book.
question was,
Yeah,
what am I doing? Yeah. So so I wanted to do. I am a feminist. I wanted to do feminist retelling. What if Odysseus was actually a woman?
Okay.
And it's along the story of it is a woman. She's more pragmatic. She doesn't go around killing everyone like Odysseus did. And then Homer, who's the narrator, the writer, then translates it into the epic it is now, with the killing and the war and the violence. But it's actually it was actually more of a laid back tale, but Homer's translated it into more masculine. So it's just the relationship between what she actually did and then how Homer completely morphs it into something else.
That is going to be a fascinating book. So how many pages are you in?
Well, if you do it by words, I think the average novel is about 100,000 words. I'm 21,000 in. So,
okay. So nearly a quarter of the way there.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, we're going to be
look out for that.
Advertising it when it becomes published.
I need to get my act together. I want to tie it into the film, so I better.
Oh yeah, you need to get your head down and get writing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really, really interesting. So, but you also have many, many, many hobbies, and you trained. I mean, So Gwynneth, as I haven't told you yet, is a finance guru. Actually, trained FD CFO, but also you originally trained as an engineer, didn't you? That's kind of where you started. Yeah. Is that why you have so many hobbies? You get so many things you're interested in.
Well, the world's so interesting. So I did a degree in engineering, and I want to say something noble, like I was driven to make the world a better place. It's because I was told girls don't do engineering. Which now I'm older sounds really shallow, but that was my driving force. I'm going to show that careers teacher, I can do this. So I did a degree in engineering and went to do an engineering graduate scheme with BA Systems. I did that and I became a chartered engineer. So I really enjoyed that time. But I got distracted by the shiny lights of finance, still at BA.
The shiny lights of finance?
Well, every day is different. Whereas engineering, there was a risk every day is very similar.
Okay.
Especially, the industry I was in. And I like the variety, and I like numbers, I like logic, and finance.
Kind of fitted
that mould well. And you will find a lot of engineers moving to finance because it's still using the numbers, the logic, but it's a slightly different take on it. So moved into finance at BA, went my career started there in the world of finance. But I've always kept that engineer, the nerd in me.
Yeah.
I've always worked in industries where there's engineering going on, so I can go and look at engineering or be involved in manufacturing, production lines, and I haven't lost that interest.
So you say it's kind of operational finance as much as anything, because you're kind of so interested in the way things, the mechanics of way things work.
I've done technical finance, and I can do it. Do I get the enjoyment out of it? No, I get the enjoyment out of the operational finance, understanding how that operation will cost money and then earn us money, and so on.
And a big part of your journey has been developing projects and building teams to kind of fulfill and deliver those projects for the various organisations. And I think you worked in helicopters at one time and in nuclear at one time. So how have you found that the link between your engineering skills, your operational skills, and the finances kind of helped you to kind of build teams, get them to function, lead, help them to kind of lead each other, to motivate each other?
One thing I found, I was doing a transformation project, and it's about upskilling the finance team. So to be business partners, to be interested in the business, interactive in the business, and understanding what we're manufacturing, what we're engineering, and adding that transparency and support that finance should do. What I realised when I was doing that is you need to also train the business.
Yeah.
You suddenly get a finance person turning up in an operational meeting, they're all going, what are you doing? So you have to train the business on how to use a finance business partner, what finance does to them, what management information, what data can we get, how can this support their KPIs. So you also have to upskill the business as well. So that was one thing I learned quite early on, is you can't just do one half of the equation, you have to sort of upskill everyone in the business. And it doesn't come naturally to some people. Some people absolutely love it and they're transformed. This is finance teams. They're absolutely transformed and they love this new way of working. They actually feel really connected to the product or the service that's been offered. And some people, it's just not for them. So don't force that round peg in a square hole. You want your round pegs in round holes and your square pegs in square holes. And that's where you get the best out of everyone. And not everyone needs to be a finance business partner, because you always need the technical skills from finance as well. So as long as you're making sure everyone's in the right sort of, in their right, I don't want to say lane because that means people can't change, but in their right groove, it's probably better. that's how you get it. But you've got to remember the rest. You've got to take the rest of the business on the journey,
Yeah.
and that's. So I learned that probably the hard way, but everyone was very interested in learning. It wasn't done in a suspicious way. They were like, well, why are they here, and what can we do, and what can we learn? And so then ended up doing sort of finance for non-finance training, because you realise everyone's up to speed on
the link
the
between.
link. You suddenly got a finance person talking about accruals, and if you're an engineer going, what's an accrual? So why is it important?
Is it that? Is there a sort of? Do you think in managing a finance team, there's a sort of, I wouldn't say a lack of understanding, but a disconnect between the understanding as to how the business generates revenue, how does that come across the front desk, and the back office function of finance and finance leadership?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And I've seen it many times, particularly in bigger organisations where the back office tends to be physically somewhere else.
In the back office.
In the back office, yeah. So you've got the management accountants, the commercial accountants, talking to the customers daily, talking to the operational teams daily. They understand you pull this lever, you earn money, or you pull that lever, it's going to cost us money, or whatever. And the back office tend to be just really focused on a balance sheet or accounts payable, and there can be a real disconnect that I don't have a magic wand. I haven't fixed it in everywhere I've ever worked, but I do notice it. It's about trying to sort of explain to the back office teams, this is what we do, this is a service we do, this is, you can't just ask those sort of questions, because it doesn't correlate, particularly around cash flow or balance sheets, and what's that number, and why have you got that number? Oh, it's because of how the customer pays us. Well, that doesn't make sense. That be as it so, that's how the customer's paying us. So there is still a disconnect, and even in the more modern organisations I've worked in, there still can be a disconnect. And I don't know the magic wand of bringing it together, apart from sort of a day in the life of almost.
Yeah, and kind of getting them involved in the operation.
And it's going to be push and pull. You can push all the commercial information you like on the back office, but they've got to pull as well. They've got to say, I'm listening. How does it work?
And you've mentioned their business partnering a couple of times, and I wrote an article recently on the importance of CEOs understanding the numbers. Well, I called it onions, but understanding the onions. Know your onions. That's what the name of the article was. Anyway, maybe a bit strange. But the business partnering element's quite important, because particularly if you're in a startup business and you're a founder and you're starting to kind of get some traction and but need that kind of that financial skill set being brought into the board. I mean, what should new CEOs or founders be thinking about when they're looking for a finance business partner rather than an FD or a CFO?
You've heard, I've said this before, a critical friend, which I know is one of your favourite expressions. And I think you do need a critical friend. You need someone to hold the mirror up to you going, really? Is that what you want to do? This will have this, but it has to be someone you trust. And some of the best business partner I've done is where the MD trusts me and I trust them to be open and honest and say, I don't think that's going to work. Or that's a great idea, let's progress it. And just not saying no, because that's not going to work as a finance business partner, but as a holding that mirror, just listening to what people are telling you. And I think that's what you need from a good CFO, is someone who will listen to your ideas and say, that's 90% great, and if you just did that, then that. But it's holding that mirror up and
has the ability to challenge you.
Yeah, being critical.
And feels that they can confidently do that.
And that's important. But I've seen some MDs who actually they won't listen to others. Well, you get nothing out of your partnership there, and you're not always right. No one is ever always right. So they've got to be able to listen to that, to their FD.
Be part of the team. Yeah,
absolutely. So that's where the best relationship is. They've stopped and listened. And I've had MDs go, "That you're wrong," and then about 3 days later, will go, "Actually, you're right." They just need time to think about it. But that's been the best ones, where you can have such a comfortable relationship. You say, "Really?" But yeah, you do need someone to do that, especially in a startup, because you've got these great ideas and enthusiasm, but you can run away with yourself, and you might forget what the optics looks like from a customer or a supplier or someone you're trying to partner with, an external partner. That's stakeholder management. You just need someone perhaps to bring you down, not bring you down. That sounds terrible. to sort of make you reflect more.
Yeah. Okay. Well, keep you grounded.
Actually. Keep you grounded. That's much better than bring you down.
Take you back to your first principles.
Yes.
perhaps.
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So you've your last role was working in logistics,
Yes.
major logistics,
Yeah, yeah,
and the
yeah.
supply chain is a real big topic at the moment
Mm.
because obviously the influence of rising fuel prices and but also there's a real efficiency element, I guess, to managing logistics and how that feeds through to the kind of finance function.
I mean, yeah, it's absolutely fascinating. I knew of logistics clearly, and it had been a service that many companies I'd worked for had used. This is the first role actually in logistics and supply chain. So the whole, there's lots of new words like backhaul, and that's
Oh, is that when they're coming back?
yeah.
Oh,
I know it makes
okay.
sense when you think about it.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
But it's really important, and that's how you minimise waste, whether it's fuel waste or resource waste. You know, in the environment, you don't want no one wants empty lorries on the road.
No.
It's just so there's many benefits of having that backhaul, and we're using the company using a lot of software to do that. So actually, we need to move that from A to B, but it needs to come back. But if it goes via sea, then it can come with a load, and therefore you're not losing money, you're using resources efficiently, and your resources being your fleet, your people, and so on. So that was really interesting, and there are lots of discussion about backhaul, which I've never actually given any thought about until I was there. My particular area of logistics was around the defence, nuclear infrastructure, public and health, so it covered slightly different. So a lot of retailers, supermarkets, and that sort of, we eat a lot as a nation. So there's a constant, it's a very sophisticated, mature
Supply chain.
chain. Yeah. Defence and nuclear infrastructure, because they're program based. One day you might be moving a generator, and the next day you're moving a pipe. There's no consistency. Everything's not pallet shaped.
Yeah.
So there's quite a lot of agile thinking has to go on, because it's not just repeat, dip and repeat, dip and repeat. It's every day is right. We're moving this now. We're moving that now, and it's the safety culture. So how does finance play with the safety culture? Well, you've got to make sure you invest in the right safety pieces. I mean, you don't want to cut a corner and then someone gets injured. It's cut a financial corner and someone gets injured, because that is not succeeding. That's just a terrible place to be. So it's about making the right investments, making it more efficient as well. So it's really interesting environments. We walk around some of the warehouses, and I imagine people might think warehouses are not very interesting, but some of these things are vast, and there's millions of pounds of product in there that you're looking after for customers. Especially on some of the major programs we're working on. If you want that bit of piping to build a warship, then it's got to get there on time. So it's really interesting, and the financial levers around that. One day you could have a standing army just doing nothing, and the next day there's not enough hours in the day. So you've got to make sure your resources are the right size.
Rest days for people.
Absolutely.
Lorries in the right place.
So you've also got to give time to come back to the safety piece. You're moving some of these really large objects that don't have a centre of gravity where you'd expect. You need people to stand back, check the area around them. That takes time. And you don't want to ever have anybody rushed. So you don't want to think, we've got to get 5 orders out today. And you don't want them rushing when it comes to lifting something very heavy, and there's a bit of a wind going on, so something's swaying in some strops, like that. Stop. What are you doing? And so you've got to give people enough time. So you don't want to not have enough resource either. So it's.
And were you actually transporting nuclear equipment as well?
No, I mean only very, very specialist.
Just
government bodies tend to move nuclear stuff, but
yeah.
nuclear supportive stuff.
Okay.
One of the programs we're looking at we're supporting is nuclear build, energy build, and that was really interesting, because everything in the nuclear energy build is big. Everything's big. So there's lots of big things being moved, big cables of big spools of cables, big pipes, big generators, big air handling units. Everything is big, and that requires a lot of thought, especially because nuclear energy sites tend to be built on the outskirts. They need to be near the sea, so they tend to be in little country lanes on the coast.
Difficult to get to.
So trying to get a big lorry down that, it takes a lot of thought, and so it's really interesting from a finance perspective. Is how we need to make money, but it's got to be value for money. Ultimately, this is. It is run by a private company, but it's ultimately government money. So you don't want to waste it. It's kind of this value for money approach. Is you want to spend it once, but you want to spend it well. So what's the best way of doing it? What's the best way of moving it? And that's part of the role of finance. Is have we got the best suppliers? We've got good agreements, so we can be flexible without getting a penalty every time we change something. How do you capture the financial information? How do you then present it back? You can have this huge data lake, but if you can't get anything meaningful out of it, it's just
data.
Just data. Yeah. How do you change that into management information? So you say, right, on this, we didn't have enough people, therefore we couldn't move as many things. Therefore, this had this. Okay, so you think, so if we invested in a couple more people, we could get more things out the door. That would, and it's that.
And that's the
constant
business partnering
trade-off. Yeah, and that's
element,
business
isn't it?
partnering.
It's operational finance. I
Yeah,
guess,
absolutely, and that's kind of what I love that. Yeah, if you pull that lever, what happens? It could be a machine. That's how I started engineering. You know, if I pull that lever, what happens over there? And it sounds like an economic model. If I pull this financial lever, what happens over there?
Interesting. And so in that role, you made a leadership transition between CFO, FD into MD.
Yeah.
So changing role, but obviously you were bringing all the skills from your engineering and your finance. But that must have been quite a change for you. I mean, how did you find the transition?
So it was an interim MD role. I found it okay. I've been doing quite a bit of the role anyway for a couple of reasons, so it wasn't a great shot. But the team were really great and accepting. So the leadership team were like, "Oh, this is amazing!" So they were so pleased, which then gave me the confidence that I can do this. So I actually felt I made the transition quite well. I probably didn't let go of some of the finances as much as I could have done. I had a great deputy who stepped up to be the interim FD, and he was amazing. I still think I was probably a little bit
bit too close.
What are you doing over there? But it was great. I mean, so the team were great, very welcoming. I had lots of wise counsel as well. The thing that took me on the hop most was around the marketing strategy and the PR. That just doesn't come across you as a finance director. So sitting down with the sales and marketing director about what could be done and how we do articles and everything was, I think that was the biggest learning curve. I mean, she was great and took me through it, and we could do this, we could do that. I'm like, it completely knew what works, what doesn't work, and just, I could do the people management and the operational metrics.
And you obviously knew the team already.
I knew the team already, but that bit was just absolutely new. So that was interesting.
Interesting and enjoyable, or
enjoyable, yeah, absolutely. Did some great things. We did some white papers on what we did in the industry. So that was really interesting, really good. But yeah, I mean, having a great team always helps. To make sure the people around you are on your wavelength, I think was just made it quite an enjoyable experience.
And that's interesting, because you use the phrase making sure that everybody's on your wavelength. Is it the wavelength of the culture that you're trying to create? Do you think that's the kind of fundamental? As long as you understand what culture you want, then if you can buy everybody else into that, then that will make everybody more successful.
Well, absolutely. And I hadn't put a title on it particularly until you just asked then. But it's more this culture of care, is caring about people, and not in a, everyone's right all the time, but listening to other people's opinions. Everyone's got a voice. What are they saying? And whether that's culture of care with leadership, or culture of care with safety, or cultural care with the money, but it's about being really mindful of what you're doing and the shadow you cast as a leader. So flouncing in that meetings going, that was rubbish, that helps no one. No one comes into the office every day to try and be rubbish. You might think it's rubbish. We say, right, how can I help this person without saying it's rubbish? Is right, we're almost there, we need to go to the next step. And just, so it's that culture of care, I think, is helping people, mentoring people. And fortunately everyone in the leadership team is very much of that. People don't come into work to do a bad job mostly. No. You probably prove me wrong and give me some examples.
No. I think that's true.
99% of people go in to do a good job.
Yeah.
They want to get paid. They want to have, a pleasant time. They want to do the job well. So, right, how can we help everyone?
Yeah.
And especially office-based jobs, it's, a lot of it was done over Teams. So, how do you have a culture of care over Teams? Because sometimes it's getting a bit of paper going, right, this bit here is not quite right. So you have to.
Yeah, it makes it
find ways and techniques, but I think that
difficult.
But everyone, the ops directors, health and safety, everyone is the head of HR. We are on that wavelength of everyone is here to try and do a good job. We really believe in the vision of what we're doing, the strategy. We'd agreed on our strategy of what we're going to do, and that's what I mean. They're on the wavelength. There's no one dissenting. There's no one saying that's not the right idea, and everyone was a caring individual.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, kind of built.
So yeah, so I kind of got lucky with the interim MD role. Is a great team.
Yeah,
so it made it easy to transition. If there'd been someone awkward, then it might not have been such a pleasant journey.
And did you enjoy that more than the finance, or was it just
It's just different.
just different? Yeah.
Sometimes I find comfort in balance sheets. A nice little reconciliation is a lovely thing.
Yeah.
But I quite liked setting the strategy, implementing the strategy, seeing the results of it. That was quite satisfying as well. So it's just different.
Interesting. And so stepping back a little bit, you also worked for a helicopter firm. Did you ever get to go and fly a helicopter?
No, and sorry, everybody who likes helicopters. After working there, I will never get in a helicopter again. They were very safe.
Wow,
they were very safe. No, they were very safe. But the engineering director used to tell me these horror stories of I can't remember what it's called, but essentially if two helicopters that too close to each other, they get the downward draft sucks them down. Like, and an aeroplane, if its engines fail, it will glide, whereas a helicopter just goes like a stone. Obviously, our helicopters are very safe. We had no incidents. Safety record is extremely high, but still, I look at them now going, no, you'd fall like a stone.
Yeah.
That was interesting. That was defence search and rescue helicopters rather than just pleasure cruises over London. It was very specific specialist helicopters. So it was an interesting mission. And we had sites across the globe. So it was interesting time and great business partner with the MD, who also likes podcasts if you're listening to it. We had a really, I felt like I was a true critical friend, and he was Australian, he could take any feedback I gave him. He'd just sort of roll it, but he'd think about it, and that was a really good example of, we had some difficult times. Things didn't always go our way, but great team, because had the trust and the communication. So I think answering your previous question about that's what you need, is be able to communicate and understand each other.
And what do you think are, because communication and working with different people and working in a variety of businesses gives you masses and masses of experience. What do you think are the sort of key things that people that are getting into a leadership role in finance and out of finance and more into sort of MD type role should be really thinking about when, coming up with their, meeting their team for the first time?
Don't pretend you know it all, because you don't. No, I've seen it before. They'll come in and go, this is how we're going to do it. And I think you literally no idea how we work. You don't understand us as a team. And you may have great ideas, but it's how you present that. So I've seen it before, and you just sit back going, okay. And I think that's, if you're an upcoming leader, you get in a team, you may be anxious, and that's fine. And be honest about it. But don't pretend you know it all. Or come in and say, we're going to change everything. Because actually, most things will just work quite well. Thank you very much. Some things might need tweaking, but saying you know it all and everything's wrong is this going to get everyone's backs up. It's better off. I've done it a few times. Have one-on-ones to people, just a coffee and a chat. What works well, and ask them what works well, what doesn't work well, what frustrates you, what would be really efficient if you could fix. If I could wave a magic wand, and people are always, in my experience, have been so honest and so open about what little thing could change. And if Fred just did that other thing, it'd be, shall I go and talk to Fred? I'm happy to talk to Fred. And just, it's little things. Or if you put a little bit of automation here, it'd make it better. Or, if we can move the monthly reporting timeline by a day, it means we could be a lot more accurate. Well, what's stopping us? And it's just, rather than announcing I know everything and you will act in the way I act, it's
being open, communicating,
you're going into a team, you're
listening,
going into a community. You need to not change your personality, but just be mindful. They've worked together for a long time, and then they're a happy ship. And you come along, and I'll try not to go into the sailing analogies, but you don't want to rock the boat.
That's a very good one.
Considering we're and I've just seen that quite a few times, and it just gets everyone backs up. And you don't need to. You just trying be a bit humble. Just you know this area more than I do. Let's work together.
Yeah.
And be honest and be truthful. People they respond very well if you're just truthful.
Yeah.
You say to them, this is my big first gig, or I'm completely new to this industry, take me through it. People 9 times out of 10 will absolutely love you asking that for their advice.
What, if you don't mind me asking, don't name any names, but what's the hardest thing you've ever had to deal with in terms of managing people? Because it can be pretty tough sometimes. There's so much going on.
Making sure you give time to people who are quiet but need it. So they might not necessarily flag they've got an issue until it's too late. And I have done that a couple of times, and I have kicked myself thinking I missed the signs. So what I knowing that I've done it a couple of times, I do step back and have a look at the team. Right, he seems okay. She's been a bit quiet. I'll just give her a call. I won't have one-to-one. I won't make it formal. I won't put half an hour in a diary because that makes people on edge. Why do you want to talk? Just just have a chat and just
giving them the opportunity.
Sense check. Are they okay? Yeah, they just got a headache and they're just being So it's easy to ignore the quiet ones because it's the people who are noisy and they're saying, I've got a problem and their hair's on fire. It's easier to listen to them, and it's sometimes the quieter ones going, they're keeping the whole thing moving and they're being a bit quiet. Why? Or they usually filed that report on time and they didn't, which is very unusual. What's triggering that? So it's make sure everyone, just regardless of how noisy they are, is in your team is getting
the attention.
Yeah.
Kind of balancing your time.
Yeah.
Interesting. So it's not all career, of course. You are a sailor and apparently want to sail around the world, that's quite an impressive thing to want to do. And is this a going to take a few years about it, or race around the world? What's the motivation?
No, I didn't know. I haven't watched Race Around the World, but I was thinking, what a waste.
Yeah.
It's partly I want to explore, and a really good example is when you're sailing to Europe. A lot of people cross the Bay of Biscay. I thought, no, I want to stop at every little cove. So when the youngest has finished university, the idea is we'll go and at least sail around Europe. I always had a plan of following the path of Odysseus, and then realised he went to Iceland. I thought, maybe I won't. Won't go that far. But I would like to do Europe. My husband would dearly love to go across the Atlantic. I have good days and bad days. Sometimes I think, what an amazing adventure, and then part of me thinks 3 weeks at sea.
Yeah, that's quite a long time, isn't it?
So we'll see on that one. But definitely want to go sailing longer term. And I've found out this term digital nomad, where you can work remotely, work wherever.
Yeah.
So that's the sort of thing. If I write a book, if I write a bestseller, I could write book 2 on the boat.
You could.
Maybe. But the idea is we'll go and sail, but it's just not just to be in the boat, it's to explore areas and
learn new things.
Learn new things, absolutely, and learn new people. And people at marinas are always so friendly. Wherever we've been, everyone helps out. And if you ask if you got that certain tool, they'll go and rummage around. And everyone's so helpful and lovely. But yeah, it's just to sort of experience different places. So yeah, we'll start with Europe because Europe's quite big.
And then maybe do the rest of the
world. And then we'll do the rest. Yeah.
No, fair enough. Fair enough. Sounds
maybe sail to Cape Verde and see how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, well, if you get to go, then best of luck with it.
Yeah.
So, one of the things I always ask in my podcast is the highs and lows of your leadership journey. And I did warn you about this. So,
you did. I actually make some notes.
But yeah, let's go with the highs first.
The highs. So I won't name the company, but everyone who works there will know which one I'm talking about. So I went in to be actually a program director, so not finance director, but a program executive sponsor on a big infrastructure project that was a campus. It was replacing about 80 or so old buildings into a campus arrangement of offices and labs and engineering workshops.
Nice.
So it's at its very early stages, kind of what do we need? And the business case needed to be written, and how big was this going to be? What was actually going to move into it? How much money would it cost? What's the back to value for money? And it would have to change the way of working of that company, because if everyone's in 80 buildings scattered and then bringing everyone together into sort of one space, it required a different way of thinking, a different way of working. And that was a real high of getting that message out to people. It's going to be a really inclusive building, so working with the D&I groups about what do you want from a building that makes you feel included. No little annoying steps places, hearing loops, all these sort of things. Plus much more. How are the labs going to work? You can't have a lab each, what it used to have. We're going to have shared labs. How's that going to work? So that way of working was it was such a buzz getting out there. And there's a lot of dissenters because it was change. It was a change curve. And okay, you tell me how it should work. And I think I really made a difference. So the building is halfway up the ground now. It's really exciting. Hopefully they'll invite me back to have a look when it's finished. But that was really not just establishing what the building needs and getting the funding, but also changing the way and giving these people this vision of how we could work differently as an organisation. That was a real high, really good.
What about the lows?
So the thing with being an internal optimist is I always turn the lows into a
high or into a positive.
Into a positive, because
okay.
I've learned from them. One thing that did change my leadership style, and it was actually sort of a half leader, I was sort of a manager at that point. I've got some autoimmune disease, and it was, my daughter must have been 2-3 years old, so it's about 15 years ago. And it wasn't under control. It affected my joints, my ligaments. I couldn't walk. I was on a walking stick and working with 2 small children. And I was struggling. I was absolutely struggling. And my manager at the time, the FD, just, well, work harder. Why are you not getting this right? And I was in so much pain. And looking back, I should have been off sick leave, but the be strong driver was, no, I shall carry on. And I was so ill. And I've always thought, when I've now looked, that shaped me as, when I've had people who are not well, whether it be physical or a migraine or whatever, take time off. Just go lie down, have a few days to yourself. Just go and do what you need to do. Because I remember how I felt. I was in so much pain. And if someone had just said to me, just go and lie down for a week, no pressure, just don't worry about work, we'll just sort it all out. If someone had done that, I think that would have helped my journey with my autoimmune disease. But it was, so that kind of always stuck with me. So it's around, if people are ill, even if they don't want to, I was like, no, go log off.
And empathy to
because I've been there, and I still remember
people are
it.
human, aren't they?
I still remember it now. I still remember the pain of limping around the office. God knows what I looked like with a walking stick and clearly in pain. And someone just said, well, you haven't done that report yet. So that changed. If people have been unwell, some managers will say, well, work through it. And I'm like, no, got a migraine, log off. And then I'll check if the log off. I told you to log off. Because I just remember what it's like. And I was no good. No wonder I made mistakes. So that was a real low. Was I can remember now how much pain I was in. And I knew I wasn't doing the job well. So
and that's demotivating you anyway, isn't
it?
It's
a really vicious circle. Yeah. So I've tried to learn from that and just sort of. So not necessarily physical illnesses. If someone's going through a hard time at home, it's like, right, if you need the afternoon off to go and tend to your aged mother, just go and do it. I don't want you distracted. Just go and do one thing or do the other. Either work and be focused, or go, we'll manage without you for half a day, whatever, and just give people that space to do these things.
And presumably you find you get 10 times of that back. From
you do. I mean, in the end, well, even adversely, they say, well, I worked till 10 o'clock to get the report finished. I'm like, that wasn't the...
Yeah, that wasn't the point.
But the loyalty and the people just go the extra mile when they need to the next time, and it's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because in the moment they need support, but it does create a nice team environment.
And what's next for Gwynneth Page? Where's the career trajectory take you?
So I am looking for my next opportunity. So I am looking out for that role that really grabs me. That could be something slightly different. Looking out there for that right role in an industry I care about. So whether it's something industrial or nuclear or defence or marine.
Just something that keeps
something
you interested.
That keeps me interested. I have to be interested in the product. I have to be interested in either the product or the service. It has to interest me. I could never go into insurance because it just. I'm not that passionate about the product. Although I have insurance, I'm not passionate about living it. Whereas,
it's got to be something that you enjoy.
Absolutely. Yeah,
absolutely.
And a good team, good leadership team, good. I am a business partner, so it has to be business partner in the MD. It has to be someone I can get on with and respect.
Yeah, all about the people.
All about the people.
So one last question, if I may. So, what message would you give our viewers and listeners if they were thinking about getting into finance, if they were thinking about getting into engineering, if they wanted to turn their hobbies into business, if they wanted to found a business and start a business, or they're just on their leadership journey? What's your message for our podcast?
That's about 14 questions in one.
We can give 14 answers if you like.
You've got to be interested in it. It's all about getting into what they call the flow, isn't it? So if you're passionate about it, your passion will ooze out, and then you'll be successful because you'll be able to talk with passion. If you're not interested in it, or your heart's not in it, then that will affect people. Can sense it. I don't know how, but people will sense that you're not interested in it. So if you're starting your own business journey, or you're just looking at a career or a company, you have to be passionate about it, because people, they're very perceptive and they will tell, and that will impact every relationship. So
it's got to be something you enjoy.
Yeah, something you enjoy.
Yeah. Well, you heard it here first. That's been fantastic. Thank you so much for spending the time talking to us. If you liked what you heard or listened to here today, then there's plenty of other amazing podcasts on meeting amazing leaders on their journey to success, available on YouTube and Spotify and various other platforms. But for now, from Gwynneth Page and from this amazing podcast, thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next podcast.
Bye.